Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am happy to inform you all it is once again Monday. Not only is it Monday, it is time for another episode of 609 Sports Talk. And not only is it time for another episode of 609 Sports Talk, it is time for the 50th episode of 609 Sports Talk. It's time to celebrate number 50, and that celebration starts right now. And welcome in, everybody, back to another edition of 609 Sports Talk, live here on Facebook, live over on the good old YouTube, and of course, you can catch these episodes, if you can't catch them live on Mondays, every Wednesday on Spotify. Of course, this is the show that unites fans, ignites a whole heck of a lot of debate, and tonight, a little bit of celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
And as always, we are your hosts, Sam Nelson, Tyler Adams. Mr. Adams, how are we today?
We're doing great. We're celebrating another double victory Monday. Maybe even quadruple victory Monday. Maybe you could even call it a victory Monday times 50.
How are we having a quadruple victory Monday? I need to hear this from you.
Well, because it's episode 50. We finally made it.
It is indeed episode 50. So look, we are going to talk we still have some NFL to talk. We're going to talk NFC South tonight as our divisional offseason breakdown. That's going to be the main headliner of the show. I have a little something I want to talk about toward the end of the show. But before we get into the entirety of the show, I think it's the appropriate time to first personally thank everybody that has been along for the ride since we came back in August.
Oh, yeah.
Since we came back to 609 in August, turned into a once-a-week podcast, you guys have been absolutely freaking awesome. You guys have supported the show since day one with your comments, your shares, your likes, and all the fun stuff that you guys help us enjoy every Monday. You invite us into your homes to talk some sports, and we appreciate every bleeping one of you. There may be kids watch. We can't go too explicit.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler, so, with the celebration, we do have a small announcement to make. And we've been saving this for about 2 weeks now. I think I enjoy what we do here on a weekly basis. I love everything that we do, all the conversations that we have with our fans, all that stuff. I love everything we do. I think we need to spruce it up around the office a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we could drop some happy news for the people.
Not only that, I think we need a new look. There we go. I think the office has been spruced up a little bit now, shall we?
Oh, yeah.
So, look, the small thing to tell you guys is after the countless months of love and support that you guys gave all of our NFL content, from our posts to our shows to all of that stuff, of course, we will continue to show the NFL is our main priority on this show. That is what that's what our selling point is. We love talking the NFL. We love talking college football. And football is always going to be something that we target the most on this show. But after some talking, after some consideration, we are going to start implementing some more sports back into 609 Sports Talk. Of course, we're going to start that next week more with the NBA draft coming up. Of course, the NBA Finals should hopefully be over by then.
Yep.
We can only hope the NBA Finals decide to conclude by then, but we're going to start bringing some more sports back into 609 Sports Talk. We're going to be bringing some NBA. Well, of course, we'll have our football. I'm going to bring in some baseball stuff. Whenever Tyler feels like and he has some entertaining stuff, he may bring some soccer in again. We're ready to talk some more stuff with you guys again. So that is our little announcement, and now let's get into the show. Now, Tyler, we still have some football to talk about. We have 3 more weeks of some divisions to cover, and then we're going to start. I don't know how next week's show is going to go with that, but we'll figure that out next week. But this week, we're talking the NFC South. The NFC South is not much better than the AFC South, so we apologize in advance.
It's about one team and a battle for the rest.
That's pretty accurate. Mike, I love the comment.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming that was when I said we need to spruce up around the office. I would love to, but I heard Jerry may need them to play the actual football games come December, so I can't take any of them from him. But anyway, Tyler, the NFC South, as we know, not much going on. The Bucs are still doing what they do with Baker Mayfield. The Saints are in a state of turmoil. I don't know what the Panthers even are at this point. And the Falcons, they're the Falcons.
So, we could keep this real simple, and it'd be like a 2-minute segment for the show, but there's no fun in that.
No.
The Bucs win the division. The Saints win 0 games next year. I think it's pretty simple.
Well, yes. Well, okay. I don't know if the Saints are going to win 0 games. They may egg out a game against the Panthers.
They'll sneak out a couple. Whoa. Put some more respect on the Panthers, because that's actually an interesting team to talk about.
And we're going to get into that. But, Tyler, I'm going to give the floor to you for a moment, and you can explain why. I probably know your answer. Are the Bucs still the favorite to win the NFC South? The floor is yours.
As of current day, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the favorite to win the NFC South. It's a division that can be won in as little as 9 games. Probably one of the only divisions that doesn't require double-digit wins to win the division. But that isn't to take any knocks against the Buccaneers. They have been one of the premier teams of the NFC South going back to Tom Brady being there. Now, obviously, we saw the excellence that Brady brought to that team, but they also did a lot of building of that roster that is still around from those days. And they finally found their guy. They brought Baker, and he's been great for them. So you're looking at Baker Mayfield, easily the best starting quarterback in that division, by far. You still have the tandem at wide receiver. Well, I should say trio now. Once they get Godwin back fully healthy, I don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season. But you got Mr. 1,000 yards, Mike Evans, who apparently, well, I don't even remember what that outrageous list was. What would they call him? Wide receiver 2? That's what it was. The best wide receiver 2s, and he wasn't even the best wide receiver 2, apparently. That just threw me off. But when you get Chris Godwin back healthy, you drafted Egbuka he was from Ohio State, right? Yeah, he was the Ohio State kid. You still got Jalen McMillan, who almost had 500 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns last year. So he was kind of a change of pace guy for them as well. They put together a really good receiving room. And not to mention they also got that kid from Oregon pretty late in the 7th round. He might have some upside. Definitely nothing year 1 or 2. Going to tight end, I mean, you got K. Dotton. You could do a lot worse than K. Dotton in the NFL. Tight ends are very, very hard to come by. And their O-line, you need to get Tristan Wirfs healthy. They got, who else on there? I'll be honest, I really don't know any of these other guys on their offensive line. Except for that, your favorite guy, Sua Opeta's a backup.
Oh God, I forgot Sewell. Payne went to the Bucs.
But the Bucks O line has regressed year after year since Brady left. It's one thing where they really haven't gotten much better at, but it hasn't really affected them too greatly. They're still going to be one of the more prolific offenses in the NFC South. They're going to have probably one of the better defenses. They still got Vita Vea. They have Anthony Walker Jr., Levante David. Who else they got on there? Antoine Winfield. They picked up Hassan Reddick. Don't know what Hassan Reddick they're going to get, but it's Hassan Reddick. And then they also have Jamel Dean. So they definitely have some weak spots on the defensive side of the football. I don't know if I would say that their defense is going to win them a lot of games, but they got some solid talent, and it's a lot more than some of the other teams can say in their division.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the Bucs, of course, we talk about how, they had that Super Bowl with Brady, and with Brady, they had one of the best runs they had in the history of the franchise. Now, the one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough personally in Tampa is what their general manager, Jason Licht, has done. I personally do not think he has gotten anywhere near the credit that he should get for what he has done in Tampa since coming there. And he's been there for a while. He's been there for, I think, 11 years. He's been the GM in Tampa for a while, and I made a YouTube video about this a while back, maybe a couple weeks ago now. But if you just think about when it comes to Tampa Bay, what they've done, let's look at this. Like you brought up, the Bucs need to get a culture change going there, and it started a decade ago when they drafted Mike Evans.
Yep.
And then you go in, you take Chris Godwin to pair them together. And ever since then, you've been drafting some stable guys. Tristan Wirfs playing left tackle, Antoine Winfield and Vita Vea being the anchors of your defensive unit.
Don't forget Levante David.
Levante David, I forget, because Levante David's been there so damn long. Like, he was there before Jason Licht was.
Exactly.
So that's why I forgot about Levante David. The guy's been there since freaking 2012. He was there before Jason Licht. But the fact that the guy is literally 35 years old and is still putting up 120-plus tackles, it is sensational what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, what he's done. And this year, I personally think their draft has the potential to have a lot of difference makers in it. Not only did you go in and you draft Ibuka, because Ibuka is almost like a right now futuristic move, because you do have to start preparing. One day Mike Evans is not going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Yeah.
You don't know the durability of Mike Evans or Chris Godwin sometimes. So I remember Bucs fans being all up in arms, like, oh, why are we taking a wide receiver in the first round? That's why. Because sometimes they are questionable with some injury risk. So, I mean, Chris Godwin last year, just look how many times he missed a game. Look how many games he missed because of that injury.
Yep.
And Mike Evans is always hampered by some type of nagging injury, whether it's a hamstring, it seems like it's always a hamstring or an ankle injury. You never know with Mike Evans. And when they're both on the field, they're still one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. I mean, those are two really good wide receiver twos, according to some lists.
Yeah.
Most idiotic thing I ever seen in my life. But now to get Ibuka in there, now you kind of have, if that happens again, if a Chris Godwin goes down, if a Mike Evans goes down, you have Ibuka. You have McMillan, who you just said, dude snagged 8 tutties last year.
Yep.
Guy literally snagged 8 touchdown grabs in his sleep, don't even pay attention to it. And not only that, he's also drafted a Bucky Irving and a Rachaad White to put together a pretty solid running back tandem there. I mean, Bucky Irving last year ran for over 1,100 yards.
Yep, exactly.
So
Rachaad White put up another 600.
Yeah, Rachaad White's the better pass catcher.
Yep.
Real quickly before we continue, what's up, Carol?
What's up, Carol?
Happy Victory Monday, as always.
All season long. All off season long, I should say.
All off season long?
Yep.
There you go. But no, if you want to look into it now. They had Ibuka go in the first round. Then if you slide down, then they really went heavy on the defensive side of the football. They drafted Elijah Roberts out of SMU. He's going to help them bring some interior pressure to their defensive line, which they desperately need. The only two that you really get any production from is from Vita Vea and Kalaja Cansey, another guy that Jason Licht has drafted. They drafted David Walker, the kid from the small Arkansas school. He is a prolific pass rusher. Has to work on some other parts of his game, but he's a solid player. They've drafted guys like they drafted Jacob Parrish in this year's draft. He's another one that could be really good. I mean, and if you just look at the rest of the guys that Jason Licht has drafted over the years, you're looking at guys like Zion McCollum, Tyke Smith. Like, they have been drafting guys that have been difference makers on their team. Like, they hardly miss on their draft picks. The Bucs draft very well.
They do. They really do.
So, and again, Jason Licht will get the praise for one of the biggest risks he took 2 off seasons ago. And that was taking a shot on Baker Mayfield. And ever since Baker Mayfield has gotten down to Tampa Bay, it is really insane to say that you went from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield and you really haven't lost much quarterback production.
Yep.
It is that crazy that we're talking about that kind of a situation in 2025, is that you went from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield and you haven't really had much of a drop-off. I mean, look at the 2 years Baker's been there. His first 2 years ago when he signed in Tampa, his first year, he completed 64% of his passes, threw for 4,044 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. Yep. This past year, he completed 71% of his passes. He had a 106.8 quarterback passer rating. He threw for a clean 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 16 picks. But the fact that the guy threw 41 touchdowns in a year where Chris Godwin missed a majority of the season, where Mike Evans didn't get his 1,000th yard streak till the last play of the season. And they had to use McMillan a lot. They had to use the run game more later on in the season. And for what Baker Mayfield has done there, now granted, give a lot of the credit, to Liam Cohen, who's now in Jacksonville, and Dave Canales, who's now in Carolina. They helped a lot of that stuff with Baker Mayfield. They really helped improve his game his 2 years down in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So the one thing that does suck for Baker now is he's going to be on his 3rd offensive coordinator. But
now he knows how Jalen Hurts feels with no Super Bowl.
Has Jalen even had the same offensive coordinator twice in the past 8 years?
No.
I'm trying to think. Well, no, he had Steichen for 2 years. So, yeah, he's had somebody. He had Steichen at 21 and 22.
That's true.
But the fact that Baker has done this now for back-to-back years, I think Baker Mayfield we may be talking, we're going to do some top 10 quarterback lists later on in the summer, prepping for the season. There are always some tough decisions.
Yeah. Oh, Baker, he's making his way into my list. I don't know where yet, but I know he's going to be in there.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time discussing him or Tua.
What are you going off of? Games missed? The higher number wins?
Most games lost in 20-degree weather?
Oh.
Just saying. Oh, my
Hey,
God.
to be fair to Baker at least played in Cleveland.
Fair point. And they have to play in that humid Florida weather.
Mm-hmm.
We all remember that game last year. We don't want to remember, but we remember it. What's up, Dalton?
What's up, Dalton?
Dalton's congratulating us on hitting the big 5-0 in terms of episodes. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. But if you look at the Bucs and what they've done in the offseason, they really haven't really addressed much outside of the organization. They don't really need to address much outside the organization, but I mean, like you said, they signed Hassan Reddick, and that's really the only notable move I really think they've made all
They also signed Shiloh Sanders.
Oh, knock it off. You just had to go there, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Of course I did.
You just had to freaking go there. But yeah, I mean, but back to that point. Outside of Hassan Reddick, what have they done? They haven't really addressed much outside of that. And like I said, I love their draft. I think Ibuka was a great pick. I think Tez Johnson can really open some eyes maybe down the road, but I think he could definitely open some eyes. I mean, I watched this guy. They say he's not fast, but every time I see the guy with the football in his hand, bad things happen for the opposing defense.
Yep.
And then, like we said, look at the defensive side of the ball. They drafted Walker. They drafted who's the kid they drafted at SMU? That said again. Elijah Roberts. They drafted
Elijah Roberts.
They drafted him. They drafted Jacob Parrish. They drafted another solid core that could really. I think they have a lot of chance to get. They were the team that I have getting the most production of all their draft picks in year one.
Okay.
I think that's the potential that their draft class this year has. They could get production from all their draft picks in year one. Not saying there are other teams that can't, but I think they definitely have a very good chance to. They have a good shot of getting a lot of production from those guys because they all really, really, they're all good football players.
Yeah. And then, like we were saying before, the biggest part is going to come down to if they don't even need 100% of Chris Godwin. They could have Chris Godwin be like 80% of who he was, and that offense will still be churning. I mean, last year, with the time that Evans missed, with the extended time that Godwin missed, they were still third in the league for passing yards per game. They had 250 passing yards per game. Rushing yards, they were fourth at 149 rushing yards per game. And they were number 4 for points scored. And they were middle of the pack points against. So while they don't have the biggest names on defense, they have the anchors on defense. Like Winfield, like David, like Vita Vea. And they play well as a unit. And I can only expect that their offense is probably going to be just as good, maybe even better. I think they got better offensively.
Oh, I agree, because now the pass game doesn't have to just rely on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Like,
there's 4 guys you got to worry about. Because Jalen McMillan, I saw him giving defenses fits last year.
I still keep forgetting about McMillan. Every time you bring him up, I keep forgetting he's there.
Defenses forget about him too, and that's why he got 8 touchdowns, Sam. And this year, defenses are going to forget about him again because it's going to be Godwin, Evans, and Ibuka, and they're going to be like, who's this fourth guy catching the 50-yard ball down the field?
Like, honestly, what they're doing here is, what's up, Dennis?
What's up, Dennis? We're going to pin this one here. Glad to see you in here, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis, for the second half of that comment, not the first half.
Wait, are we sure it hasn't regressed more? You know, we'll take that comment as a compliment for you, okay? It hasn't changed, so that's a good thing, I guess.
Oh my God! I'm not gonna deal with this banter, okay?
Roast Sam time is over.
But anyway, still, the fact that they are transitioning into the fact that Evans and Godwin, just say, for example, it's not going to happen. Evans and Godwin could both leave the Bucs after this season.
Yep.
They've already got their starting duo for after they're gone. And then at that point, Ted Johnson maybe have developed into your wide receiver 3, and that's a damn good trio.
Exactly.
Like, they literally have loaded up their wide receiver room, and it is scary. Like, it is actually scary.
It is. And then with a guy like Baker at the helm of that, I think last year was his worst year in interceptions. Do I expect him to actually? Oh, it's not. Hold up. Maybe we can just forget about the Cleveland days. I don't think those count because those are some dark times for him. But aside from that, I mean, his first year in Tampa, only 10 interceptions, 28 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. So, I mean, he threw for more yards, threw for more touchdowns, a lot more, and had more interceptions. I don't think he's going to get close to that many interceptions again. I think a lot of it had to do with all the change around that they had with, wide receivers missing games.
Yeah. And now that they are this deep at wide receiver, no, Dennis, I will not be doing that.
Zoom them in.
No one needs to see more of this, okay? But the fact that you look into that, now if a Chris Godwin is not 100% come week 1, you don't have to rush him into his role because you're going to have Ibuka and you're going to have Mike Evans. And for the life of me, if I miss McMillan again, I'm going to freaking flip. But
just forget about him. I hope the Eagles defense doesn't next year. If so, it's going to be another loss to Tampa.
Oh, I'm expecting it. We don't play well in Tampa.
They never give us a home game against them. Even after winning the Super Bowl, still don't get a home game against them.
Man, we only have back-to-back home games next year. Who are you kidding?
Oh, dude. Don't get me started.
Thanks, Dennis. I think. I don't know. But, yeah, I got no words for that comment. I have no words for any. I have no words for what's going on right now. But you can even make the case with the amount of wide receivers they have. We may be seeing we could see some MVP votes maybe for Baker.
We could. I mean, he's probably like, if he had even 8 less interceptions, if he only threw 8 interceptions last year, he might have gotten some votes.
Yeah.
Because 4,500 yards, I mean, almost tops of the league, tied for second in passing yards. I don't know how many rushing he had.
I mean, the fact that you throw 40-plus touchdowns with a 70% completion percentage.
Yeah, the highest of his career by far. Because his second highest was the first year in Tampa at 64. So, I mean, you see how much he's gotten better by being in Tampa.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of that has to go with Liam Cohen and freaking Dave Canales before they both left for their head coaching
So
job.
yeah, let's hope that doesn't affect him in the wrong way.
Well, I thought it would have affected him after Canales left and he got better. Because
True.
Canales left first, and then Cohen just left this past all season. So, but of course, also the other side of the football with the Bucks is their defense, and Todd Bowles, who has always been known for as one of the more aggressive defensive coordinators / head coaches, which is what he is now at Tampa. I like their unit. I like their defensive unit. We know they're going to score. They're going to pass the ball a lot, and they're going to score. We know that.
Oh yeah.
But on the defensive side of the ball, you still have Villa, Kalaja Cansey. Like I said, they drafted Elijah Roberts. Not sure how much playing time he'll get early, but I think he can carve out a decent role for his first year.
Let's look at that line real quick. Based off of just the starting, I guess, edge rushers. And I guess you could. Reddick doesn't really have many numbers to go off of from last year. But going off of the rest of them, you got Logan Hall, 5.5 sacks. Vita Vea had 7. The kid, Kalaja Cansey, next to him, 7.5. And then Yaya Diaby at 4.5. So, combined together, again, they play well as a whole unit. They don't have the one guy that just really stands out at you. They just all play well collectively.
Yeah, they send a unit after you, and I think adding Reddick to that situation really helped. Oh my God, Deion Jones is on the Bucs.
I was just about to say, I can't believe old man Deion Jones is there playing behind old man Levante David.
Why does Deion Jones just feel like he's in like Devin White's territory right now? Except he had a few more productive years than Devin White.
Yeah, basically.
What is somebody save this man? But and they also have Anthony Walker. He'll probably compete for some start playing time at the other off-ball linebacker. I mean, last year in Miami, he had 66 total tackles, had a sack, had a pick. Another guy, when he's on the field, he could be a really underrated linebacker through his career, but that's the problem when he's on the field.
Yeah.
And like I said, David Walker, the kid from the small school in Arkansas, he is an edge rusher. He's a raw prospect, but they have the depth at edge rusher. I think that they can carve out a nice role for him early. Oh, yeah. Not sure how much he'll play early, but they can find a solid little spot for him. And honestly, you want to look at their secondary. Zion McCollum, he's had a very good start to his career. Last year, he had 82 total tackles, 2 interceptions. He was really good for them last year. And, of course, you have Antoine Winfield, who is easily one of the best safeties in football. Now, he only played 9 games last year, but he still had 60 tackles and actually had no interceptions, which that's really unusual for him. They drafted Tyke Smith out of Georgia last year, and he appeared in 13 games. He started 6, 53 total tackles, had 2 interceptions. I'm expecting a possible bigger role for him, probably starting opposite of Antoine Winfield.
Think so?
Now they have.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Do you think? Because I mean, ESPN has him listed as a nickelback corner, but obviously things can change. Different formations, different sets. It's possible he could start next to Winfield.
Yeah, I mean, and they also have Christian Izien at safety. He appeared in 14 games and started 10, had 75 tackles, and he had 1 pick last year. So I think Tyke Smith and him both will be gunning for some playing time.
Yeah.
It just depends on the kind of formations and sets they run. They still got Jamel Dean in their secondary. He, of course, last year, 12 games, 59 tackles, 1 pick. I think they could probably upgrade from Jamel Dean. I'm not saying he's terrible. But,
they could do worse, but they could definitely do better.
well, and also forget they drafted Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. And I told you, if he doesn't suffer that hip injury, we may be talking some Will Johnson comparisons. That the kid out of Michigan that went to Arizona.
Oh yeah,
that's where I like.
Morrison was an easy first-round pick if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So hey man, you said needing to upgrade from Jamel Dean. Well, give this kid a little bit more time to get ready and back into football shape. He might be your starter by midseason, right next to Zion McCollum. But I mean, definitely, they got their young cornerback tandem of the future. It just seems like they got everything planned out for the future.
And this is why I said I made that YouTube video. Jason Licht doesn't get enough credit for the good GM that he gets. He started building this team back a decade ago once he drafted Mike Evans.
Yep.
And ever since then, he has been doing a tremendous job. And I think the Bucs, I mean, granted, it's not, and also I know we're talking about one of the weakest divisions in football. It ain't the Bucs' fault that the other three teams in their division don't know how to build a team.
Yeah, because just think, we're not too far removed from the Tom Brady-led Buccaneers were battling for the top of the division with New Orleans. That was what, maybe 5 years ago?
Right around there. So, if you look at it, it's not. The Bucs are just enjoying a really good stretch of football lately. They continue to win their division. And if Baker Mayfield keeps playing at the high level that he does, Bucs are in good shape, man.
They are.
They're another team in the playoff. When they played the Lions, they gave the Lions a run. They just didn't have the personnel to hang with the Lions.
Yeah.
That was their biggest thing. They were good, and they hung in there. They didn't have the personnel to deal with them. But moving off of the Bucs, let's talk about another team. Let's go down to a team that I think we can basically both agree that they're probably the biggest competition of the Bucs. Let's talk about the Falcons.
The Falcons? I thought you were going to say the Panthers.
I still have the Falcons. I don't know if the Panthers are there yet.
Yeah, I agree. I have them two pretty close to each other, but in terms of a polished team, I think the Falcons are there. I mean, they finished second last year in the division. They had an 8-9 record. Passing wise, they were a pretty solid team. Running wise, not the tops of the league, probably middle of the pack. They averaged about 130 yards on the ground. Another team that struggled to find the end zone. They moved the ball well but couldn't finish. And their kicker, I was going to call him Koo. I don't even want to try to pronounce the first name. He had a lot of struggles last year. And that's an understatement. He might have struggled more than another guy that got released from his team. But I'm going to say I don't know if Michael Penix is ready for the big moment yet. He's good, but I don't think he's great yet. They're going to rely heavily on their running back game. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. Drake London, he had his best season, I would say, last year. 100 receptions, 9 touchdowns, almost 1,300 yards. I mean, he was almost tops of the league. Outside of that, what did you do? You didn't add anything. You're still rolling with Darnell Mooney. You're still rolling with Ray McLeod. Kyle Pitts is always in looming trade talks. The one thing they do have going for them, though, is they put together a solid offensive line every year almost. You got Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron. I don't know their center. Ryan Duzil, Chris Lindstrom, and Caleb McGarry.
What was with the Darnell Mooney hate about 2 minutes ago?
I mean,
Mooney had 992 yards and 5 touchdowns last year.
He did have a solid year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like all the games that I saw him playing, he was terrible. I guess I didn't watch many Falcons games.
And Ray McCloud had 686 yards. Well, where
That's
is
surprising, actually. That is actually surprising to me. That wow. One touchdown.
Okay.
That's nice. That sums up about the whole Falcons offense. They were just allergic to scoring.
That's the Julio special.
The Julio curse? Did he leave his touchdown curse with the whole team?
Essentially, I guess.
But yeah, Darnell Mooney, I actually didn't know he had that good of a year. So definitely solid wide receiver 2. Ray McCloud from last year, solid wide receiver 3. I don't know if he's gonna, consistently produce like that, but he definitely found his footing a little bit in Atlanta.
What's up, Clint? Appreciate it, brother. Clint?
Thank you. And what's up, Anthony?
Anthony, where were you last week? Anthony, if there are 3 things guaranteed in life, it is death, taxes, and you being here. I didn't hear from you at all last week. Where were you? You scared me for a moment, Anthony.
Sam was about to come find you. He was worried.
Because I'm used to so many of our some weeks we have certain commenters, some weeks we have others. I'm always used to seeing Anthony, and I didn't see him last week. I was like, oh, that was weird.
Hey, he didn't care about the NFC South. I can't blame him. But we got one even better for you this week, Anthony. We're talking the NFC South.
And we're currently talking about how we think the Falcons are the closest competition to the Buccaneers, who are the odds-on favorite to win the division. Oh, and I know that struggle. I know that, brother. I know that.
So with the Falcons offense, if they can let's say they keep Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts last year, he had 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had one of his better seasons, aside from his rookie year, one of his better seasons. He seems like a guy, he has a lot of talent. I feel like he's just constantly misused. And I don't know who's going to be the coach to finally figure out how to use him.
Yeah. I mean, he had such a great start to his career, and then it's been a struggle ever since. And honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I don't even know if Kyle Pitts will be a Falcon come August, better alone the season. And apparently what the Falcons are looking for, they're looking for some type of a day 2 pick. I don't even know if that'll net you them.
Yeah, it sucks because, former first-round pick, they took him high, number 4. And he had a great rookie year, and after that, just never got back to that form again.
Yeah. I think he needs to go to a team that depends heavy on their tight end position. The Falcons clearly don't. I mean, Drake London had the ball thrown at him 158 times, and he caught 100 of them.
Yeah. You know an interesting team to trade for Kyle Pitts? Jaguars.
Really?
You lost Ingram. Didn't get a solid replacement for him. Why not? That could make Jacksonville compete in the division. Trevor Lawrence aside.
You know what? Another team that I could think, and I hate saying this, you know what team I think makes a lot of sense for Kyle Pitts?
What?
Kansas City.
Man, I didn't want to say it.
I know, but
I don't want to
look,
see it.
Look, let me go to Jason's house and let me get the nieces are agreeing. Uncle Travis retiring soon. Uncle Travis hanging him up. And I know they got Gray there. I'm not sold on him. So why not go get yourself a pass catching tight end that you know can catch the football, and you put him in that system with that head coach and that quarterback? Who do they depend on that offense? The tight end position. Now, granted, it's a lot easier to do that when your tight end is Travis Kelce, but still, it's better than what he's doing in Atlanta.
Yeah.
To catch up on some comments here, Clint said you're talking about the NFC South. He said number 6 is still his quarterback. Of course, you're talking about Baker.
Oh, yeah.
Clint is one of the sensible Browns fans that actually likes Baker Mayfield. Anthony said, nah, Tampa's got a 3-headed monster. Their season will depend on Baker. Anthony, they ain't got a 3-headed monster. They got a 4-headed monster. Clint said, just convert Pitts to a receiver. I think they tried that, and I think they miserably failed at it. And then Anthony said, Pitts is worth a 4th-round pick. I would players better on different. Yeah, I mean, you're probably getting him for no more than a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
So, and you know, the problem also with Kyle Pitts, he is the definition of a tight end in a wide receiver body. He's not a big tight end. So the physicality that the tight end position brings, Pitts doesn't really fit his body isn't the fit for some of it.
Yeah.
But if you put him in the right system that navigates a lot of their passing game towards the tight end position, like a Kansas City, like you said with Jacksonville. I know they got Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter. But Evan Ingram was playing a big role down there when he was there.
He did. I feel like that's the best team to trade for him. Yeah.
It makes a lot of good sense.
But honestly, for the Falcons, the offense isn't even the best part to talk about. They've been doing some work on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Not only do they have probably one of the better secondaries in the NFL, they went and they added on 2 young, great pass rushers to a group of already solid pass rushers. Right? You already have Arnold Ebiketie, former Penn State guy. Don't know if you remember him. He had 6 sacks last year. You go over, look at Leonard Floyd, 8.5 sacks last year.
Well, they just brought him over, so.
Yeah, they brought him over. He was with the Colts last year, right?
No, I believe he was in San Fran.
Oh, man, he's been on the move.
Yeah, he was in San Fran last year.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong Floyd. Hold on.
What Floyd are you thinking of?
I don't even know. Oh, no, I think I'm thinking of someone who played on the Colts, last name Leonard. That's what I'm thinking of.
Shaquille Leonard.
Yeah. Shaq
Darius Leonard.
Darius. Yeah. Darius.
There you go.
There we go. Figured it out. Anyways, he's irrelevant right now. But yeah, Leonard
Not
Floyd.
Your head, he's not.
You're right. Leonard Floyd, they're bringing over a solid pass rusher in him. Not to mention, you just walked away with Jalen Walker. Oh, and you got James Pierce as well, your favorite, Sam. And then they got Caden Ellis, middle linebacker. He had 5 sacks last year, forced fumble, interception, 85 solo tackles. I mean, a really solid middle linebacker.
Anthony, there's problems with two of those teams. Where the hell's Kyle Pitts playing in Detroit?
Yep.
And the Jets just drafted Mason Taylor.
I mean, I'll give you a problem with the Eagles, too. I feel like it would have been realistic if they didn't extend.
Well, hold on. I can make the same case. Look, it was almost Dallas Goedert's last season last year in Philly. I can guarantee you he's not coming back after this year. So,
true.
I still entertain the idea because you got to remember, their tight end room after this year gets real thin quickly. So right, I wouldn't put it past them. Clint said he loves Caden Ellis, the Falcons linebacker that you just brought up.
He's a very underrated player. Very underrated. So, like, they already had guys that can go and get after the quarterback. And then they drafted two more.
Well, and that was the problem last year they had was consistently getting to the quarterback, and that's why they had to draft two more. And don't forget, they'll have Braylon Trice healthy, who they took in the third round out of Washington last year, but he missed the entire year with a torn ACL. So, hopefully, you add Trice coming back. Hopefully, the guys that you had in-house get a little bit better, and now you added Floyd, Pierce, Walker, and Walker can do a lot of things. He ain't necessarily going to be a pass rusher.
Yeah. There's another one we're forgetting that they added in the draft, too. Xavier Watts. He's probably going to compete with Jordan Fuller for the starting job.
There's a competition for that?
Well, you think Jordan Fuller is just a bum? I mean, he kind of is, but...
Well, you got to convert from...
You got to give him a shot at least, right?
When you went from... Look, no. When you got to transition from corner to safety and you're only 27 years old, you stink.
So, starting safety tandem is going to be Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts, and the league is going to be terrified. And Cincinnati's going to be questioning why they didn't keep Bates for the rest of their lifetime.
And they're probably going to be questioning why they didn't draft Xavier Watts, too. But anyway, they only had that opportunity.
Yeah, Shamar. That's not even the worst part, though.
And another guy to look out for that they took, they drafted Billy Bowman back in the fourth round. He's a guy who's very versatile. He can play the deep safety, he can play a lot of nickel, he could play a little bit outside. He was a very big weapon last year in Oklahoma. So he's going to get a lot of looks too early on. The Falcons, and then you're adding Watt and Bowman to Bates already, and you still have freaking A.J. Terrell.
Oh, yeah.
Who's one of the better corners in the league.
Perfectly said.
The Falcons definitely have improved their defense. Now, opposite of Terrell, Mike Hughes is still there. He had a solid year last year, but I wouldn't say that's like...
Yeah.
And they also have D. Alford still, so...
Yeah, but with how solid their pass rush is going to be this year, and with how good their safety play is going to be this year, I'm not too worried about Mike Hughes having to be cornerback number 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, not yet.
Atlanta's going to be coming. They're going to compete. They might give the Bucs a run for their money in that division. They might. It's all going to hinge on Michael Penix's play in year 2.
And, while we're on the topic of the Falcons, before we move on to probably another team, I think the question really should be is there is still a big lingering backup quarterback that is still on the Falcons. What do we think about the Kirk Cousins situation?
Where does he even get traded at this point?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know either. I mean, we all made the jokes of him going back to Minnesota, but I don't think that's ever going to happen now.
No. That price tag.
Yeah. If Aaron Rodgers didn't go to Pittsburgh, that could have been an option. The Browns are just going to tough it out with what they got. They don't care at this point. They got old man Joe Flacco to rely on for a year.
We know what the Browns are doing.
Oh, yeah.
The next couple of draft classes will contest of Klubnik and Aller next year.
Mm-hmm.
And if not this year, Archman in the year after.
Yeah.
So I
think Cleveland wouldn't mind trading one orange color for another.
I think that was the deadline, Anthony. I'm not sure. Honestly, though, if we're looking at this now, if I'm the Falcons, I'm just going to hang on to them.
Yeah, honestly, because with how well this team is constructed, I get it. There's probably going to be some division and some negative sentiments from Kirk Cousins, getting benched like that. But who says Penix is going to step up and be ready? I mean, he played well in his 3 starts. He only had 3 starts so far.
He only threw 3 touchdowns, too.
Yeah, only threw for 3 touchdowns. He won one of those games. And the accuracy, his best game was against the Giants. That wasn't hard to do for any team last year. 67% accuracy. The passing averages aren't really there either. They're kind of low, making short passes. I mean, they might need to consider putting Kirk Cousins out there to have a shot at opening up the offense more.
Yeah, because let's think of this, right? In this situation, you have one of 2 things. Now, Anthony says he could either see the Saints or the Colts. Anthony, the Saints are in full-on tank mode. First of all, if they tried to trade for Kirk Cousins, they'd have to file bankruptcy because they'd have no money left. They're already in cap situation hell. But if you're the Falcons, yes, what has happened has happened. You gave them a lot of money. Then you drafted Penix. All that circus happened. We are aware of it. But if you come to think of this, right? Say you're the Falcons. You can either A, stick Kirk Cousins as your backup for the time being. Yes, I understand having a $40 million backup is bad. I understand that. But like you said, what if Michael Penix just comes out and does not play well? You have somebody who has run the offense that Zach Robinson wants to run.
And not terribly either.
Yeah. It's just late in the year it just didn't have the same type of strong play that we're used to seeing from Kirk.
He got a lot more sloppy with the ball.
Yeah, or what happens if Penix is playing really well and just for example, the Dolphins are in the playoff hunt and down goes Tua again? That's when teams overpay for something.
Yep, when you're desperate.
I mean, just remember, it wasn't too long ago where the Eagles got a first-round pick from the Vikings for Sam freaking Bradford. Because when Teddy Bridgewater's knee went out, they needed some help desperately. Granted, it didn't work out in their favor, but still, I think that is also not a bad way to look at this.
Yeah, just wait and see what you can get. Because you'll probably get something, but if not, at least you have a viable starting quarterback option if Penix doesn't work out this year. Because who says he's ready to start? I mean, I get it. You drafted him 8th overall. A lot of guys drafted that high, they are starters. But they don't always come into their own right away.
Yeah, and even Anthony said here, Penix has had his history of durability issues.
Yes, he has.
So I think the problem with Kirk Cousins is everyone looks at the contract, and that's where they stop at. But you got to look at this. A guy's been a starter in this league for a long time, and a damn good one.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint's prediction is that Cousins will be dealt by the deadline. He very well could.
He'll either be traded by the deadline or he will be a starter by the deadline.
Yeah.
Either way, if he's starting for the Falcons or another team, he'll be a starter by the deadline.
Yeah,
Because they're not
I can
just
see
going to
it.
sit on him the whole year past that point. If it's not clicking by that point in the season, they're going to deal him.
Well, I agree 100%. I absolutely agree with that 100%. But yeah, so if you're the Falcons, you could be. You're sitting on, honestly, you could be sitting on a bag of riches here. You could either keep the guy, you have a valuable backup to your young quarterback who you drafted, or you're sitting there with a trade chip that some other team may want if their quarterback goes down.
Yep.
It could work out in your favor either way. So we just have to wait and see how it all pans out. But moving on now let's move on to another team. Let's move to the Panthers. And how do we feel about how do we feel about Carolina after this offseason?
After this offseason, I feel better about the Carolina Panthers than I did last year. Now, we did see major improvements from Bryce Young towards the end of last year. Not too
Yeah,
far removed from getting benched and stuff in favor of Andy Dalton. So he finally started to put some pieces together. You're going to get Chuba Hubbard, who missed a couple of games, I think, last year because he was just asked to do so much. He was being a workhorse. They were running him into the ground. Chuba Hubbard, one of the better running backs in the league, in my opinion. They picked up Rico Dowdle, which, they drafted Trevor Etienne, who I think he's solid. He's not going to be asked to do a whole lot, but trust me, with what they've been going through with running back injuries, Miles Sanders, they want some extra depth on the team.
Yeah, not to mention Jonathan Brooks is going to be out for the season too.
Yeah, I know. It's sad, man. The whole year he's going to miss.
That's a talented kid, and hopefully he can get healthy.
Yeah. But now, that's not even the best part to talk about, right? You drafted Ted McMillan. You still got old reliable Adam Thielen as the leader in that wide receiver room. You're hoping that you can get an improvement out of year 2 of Xavier Legette. And you also got Hunter Renfrow, who, I'm sorry, back when he was with the Raiders, he was a solid secondary option. Not second option, but like maybe your second or third go-to guy.
Yeah.
He had some decent. He had one really good year with the Raiders in 2021. And then his first 2 years in the league, 600 yards, 650 yards. You can't tell me that's terrible for a guy who was not the wide receiver number 1.
Not saying nothing.
They could do a lot worse.
They
They could
could.
do a lot worse. But at least they have the depth and they have options, which is good.
Don't forget about the kid Jalen Coker too.
Jalen Coker, yeah, I saw him as well. He's
478, 2 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, he'll be in his second year as well. So
Well, instead, if Young takes that next step, he thinks the Panthers can finish second in that division. I agree.
They could. It hinges on Bryce Young and his improvement. Is he going to continue to improve like we saw late last season? Or is it just going to be the same old thing again? I hope it's not. But they got a lot of solid pieces there for him. They definitely surrounded him with weapons. There's no excuse for him now at this point. doesn't have a good tight end. That could be another. Yeah, good luck getting Pitts to a in division rival.
I mean,
But
Tommy Tremble. I think Tommy Tremble could be still turn out to be solid.
He could, but we'll see. I mean,
Coming for the guy who's over here clamoring over a wide receiver coming out of retirement, but Tommy Tremble's
Hold on, man. Hunter Renfro's only been in the league for like 5 years. You act like he's an old man.
Dude, he's 29. He's just come out of retirement. What do you think is going to happen here, bud?
A reliable option. A veteran in a young locker room. Which that wide receiver room is young.
Adam Thielen ain't that young.
You did not just say that.
He's not.
You did not just say
that. Also,
wait, no. Yeah, he's one of the old ones. I thought you were calling him young.
No, I said he's not young.
I was like, what do you mean he's young? He's the oldest one. He's the oldest one of the damn team.
He's a young 38.
Jesus, only 34.
He feels like he's 38.
Probably.
Don't forget, though, they also drafted Mitchell Evans, the tight end from Notre Dame.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And I don't think Mitchell Evans got enough credit for how well he played at Notre Dame because Riley Leonard could not pass the ball consistently to him.
So hey, if Bryce Young needs a little safety blanket on them short reads, there you go.
I'll have Tommy trembling.
Oh, God.
But the one other big concern last year with the Panthers, unfortunately, was their defense. Their defense was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, did they get much better?
Well, let's look at this right now. Derek Brown stood, hopefully, for right now, he is on track to be ready for week 1. He was limited to 1 game last year. That really hurt them.
Yeah.
They signed Bobby Brown to be their nose tackle. So,
I mean, you sign a former Rams player as your nose tackle, you're just going to get ran all over. Good luck.
Ashawn Robinson last year had 5.5 sacks for them at defensive tackle.
Yeah. DJ won him. He played solid for him.
They signed Kershaw Wharton away from the Chiefs. He had 6.5 sacks last year for them.
Oh, wow. Damn.
And if you go through some linebackers, they drafted Nick Scorton, which I'm still pissed off about.
Yep. Josie Jewell, he's a solid veteran.
He is. And then if you go into the secondary,
they got Michael Jackson.
They have J.C. Horn.
Oh, yeah.
They drafted Latham Ransom out of Ohio State. They signed Trayvon Moehrig away from the Raiders, and he had 104 tackles and 2 picks last year. So they've definitely
additions. They've tried to revamp.
Well, that's until Moehrig knocks somebody out and consciously gets thrown out.
And then it's time for Latham Ransom.
Honestly, Clint, I agree. You can get Kyle Pitts, even though, like Tyler said, being a division rival, if you can get Kyle Pitts and Mitchell Evans as your top 2 tight ends, you could be in a little bit. You could be onto something there.
Gonna have to pay that in-division tax, but maybe it's worth it.
Oh, knock it off, Commander.
That was great.
There's an in-division.
How he just laughed and was like, "All right, see ya."
I'll tag another 50 on you next year. See you later.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Tyler, this only leaves us with...
That's the end of this segment, folks.
No, we have to be fair.
There's the other team that tied for third. Except this one got worse. So,
And worse.
Sam, they won 5 games last year. Tell me how you envision them winning at least 3 this year.
If Derek Carr's shoulder magically heals in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's not happening. Derek Carr might consider retirement.
He is retired.
Oh, you're right.
Literally, he is retired.
Maybe he'll unretire if he's not playing for the Saints.
I wouldn't do that.
The Raiders are going to need a quarterback in like 3 years when Geno's done.
What are we talking about right now?
This is what happens when you talk about the Saints. Just a bunch of random stuff happens.
Like
their quarterback room.
Their quarterback room right now is Tyler Shaw. Or Chow. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Tyler Shaw.
Joe. Yeah, it's going to be the Tyler Shaw.
Sadly. Sorry,
Spencer Rattler, Hunter Deckers, and Jake Hayner. Oh my God, what in the world? You know what? At this point, what's Drew Brees up to?
Not coming to this crapshoot, I'll tell you that.
Oh my God, this is so bad. I don't even know what to say about the Saints. How did we get to this point?
So, I'm really... So, they're going to go with Tyler Shaw, right? Spencer Rattler's not more than maybe 2 or 3 games out from becoming the starter.
And that's not much of an upgrade.
It's not. So, aside from the Saints' quarterback woes and how everything just kind of hit them all at once, they got a pretty constructed team. They've been working on their offensive line. They drafted Kelvin Banks. They have Tylee Swaga from last year's draft. Their wide receiver room, when healthy, is pretty damn good. With Olave, Shaheed had a really good year before he got hurt.
He did. I'll wait for another name.
Oh, man.
You know who they added.
Oh, I know who they added. Everyone's Cowboys, Rams, wherever else he played on every single NFL football team.
Including the Saints, who drafted him.
Including the Saints. He's back home. And Saints, I just want you to know, you're not getting a 1,000-yard receiver. He's been a long time removed from that. About 10 years.
Oh. All right, so I was digging Clint's comment here talking about they'll gladly give them a quarterback until this comment.
His name is Sean Dixon. Oh, man. Is that his undercover name?
Oh, my God. Then now Anthony comes out with this.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, no. Don't do Olave like that, all right? Please don't. Because Olave... last year was the worst year that Olave had because of his health. His first 2 years, he played 15 games and 16 games. 1,000-yard seasons both years. He's a good wide receiver. I just think he had a little bit of bad breaks last year with the injuries and the concussions.
Yeah.
But he could definitely... Oh, my God. What's up, Salt?
What's up, Salt?
Jesus.
I think we have Dalton crying somewhere.
But then Shaheed, another one, got hurt. He was off to a really good start throughout the first few weeks of the season.
He sat on my bench very nicely those first few weeks too, and went off.
Yep, and then he got hurt. Dropped him right away. But yeah, I mean, Shaheed, if he's healthy the whole year, if he didn't get hurt last year, he probably would have had his first 1,000-yard season. Brandon Cooks, we're not even talking about Brandon Cooks. I can't believe Brandon Cooks is third on their depth chart. That's where they're already screwed.
Well, if you kind of think of it, right, you're going to have Shaheed when healthy. Olave's the wide receiver one. Shaheed's going to be running down the field. You only need someone to control the intermediate short yard situation, and Brandon Cooks could possibly do that. I'm not saying he's going
to. No, because that intermediate part of the field belongs to Jawan Johnson. Mr. I don't even know how old he is now. He's only 28. Johnson? What? Dude, he's 28 and he looks 40. Explain that to me.
Can we get a hold of Oregon and Penn State and get his some records, please? I think his files got lost at Penn State. I think Paterno recruited him.
Oh man!
Back in the 90s.
He must have gave him the birth certificate where he drew it in crayon.
He got the birth certificate along with Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Whoa. Oh man, this is what the Saints does. Takes our show off the rails. Okay. Oh man.
Oh jeez. Holy crap.
But honestly, the Saints were just figuring out a 1-year quarterback away from possibly being able to finish like second or third in the division.
Yeah.
I have zero confidence in Tyler Show, but he's the best quarterback on the roster.
That ain't saying much.
It doesn't say much.
And also, let's not also forget that they still have Alvin Kamara.
I've been trying to avoid bringing him up because Alvin Kamara somehow had 950 yards last year. I couldn't tell you where they came from.
And then it turns into the rejected running back club because they have
Sam. Do you want to have your mind blown? His 950 rushing yards was a career high.
Yeah, he's never had 1,000 yards rushing in a season.
Oh my gosh!
Well, it's because of how many passes he catches.
Yeah, which had a pretty solid year. You know what? All right, Alvin Kamara, he still got it.
Yeah, so. And honestly, Dalton makes up a solid point here. They aren't a bad team besides quarterback.
They're not.
No.
And we didn't even get to their defense yet. And I still think their defense is pretty well constructed, too. You got old reliable Cameron Jordan over there. Only had 4 sacks last year, but he plays a more pivotal role. He's kind of like that BG role for them nowadays.
Now that brother is 40.
Yes. Who else they got? Who else?
Devon Gosh. Before you completely roll over to their defense, I also wanted to throw in that they did draft Devin Neal, the running back out of Kansas. Easily, I think, could be a really solid backup to Alvin Kamara.
Oh, yeah, and they signed Cam Akers. They're good.
And they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, too.
Ew. Yeah, Edwards-Helaire is getting cut. I just want you to know that. I think Akers makes the team over him.
Clint said Kamara is like an upgraded Austin Eckler. Wow.
You mean a healthier Austin Eckler? He's probably played more games each season in his career than Eckler has.
Fair point. Anyway, let's move on to the defensive side of the ball for the Saints.
Oh, Sam. We joked about Jawan Johnson. We forgot to recognize the rest of that elite tight end room. Taysom Hill.
Oh, knock it off.
Foster Moreau. And guess what, Sam? They got Jack freaking Stoll. They're winning 4 games next year. Taysom Hill might actually start some games at quarterback. That's how bad their quarterback play is going to be.
If he's healthy. Remember, he's off that ACL tear.
Very true.
But no, back to the Saints, like they still have Carl Granderson at defensive end.
Got Demario Davis.
They traded for Davin Godot, who was a nose tackle from the Patriots, but now they're switching their scheme. He wasn't a fit.
Yep. They brought back Chase Young again.
Chase Young He had a solid year last year for them in a rotational role.
5.5 sacks. Definitely solid.
Demario Davis is basically the equivalent of Levante David. The brother just does not matter how old he gets. He's still going to tackle everything that moves.
Yep.
I heard he tackled his own son in a touch football game. Also, Edgar and Kamara are basically the same age. Pretty much, Zolt. Pretty much.
And their secondary is very interesting. You got second year of Kool-Aid. See if Kool-Aid McKinstry ages better. Got Justin Reed, 2 picks last year, 9 pass deflections, and you got Tyrann Mathieu still going, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, they have probably one of the more premier safety tandems in the league.
And I'll tell you right now, do not sleep on Jonas Sanker, who they took in the 3rd round. That could be another kid that can really play.
Okay.
Do not sleep on the kid. That is another kid that could play.
But yeah, the general consensus for the Saints is going to come down to if they had at least a game-managing quarterback, they'd actually be able to win some games this year.
All right, maybe they should trade for Kirk Cousins, okay?
With what money?
Yeah, Clint, and some defensive backs, it takes a year or two. Look, not everybody is Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah.
Not everyone just steps right in the fire and has the water hose and can put them out. Some guys got to take some time. And Kool-Aid didn't play bad last year. I think year 2 of Kool-Aid could be interesting.
Yeah.
And he said, it doesn't matter who you got coaching matters. Anthony, did you see Dennis Allen coaching that team the last couple of years?
I wish them the best of luck trying to figure out.
And hold on, Anthony, how can I put any of this on Kellen Moore with what he has at quarterback? How is any of that his problem?
You know what? We might just be sitting here talking all this trash, and Kellen Moore is just going to turn this kid into like the next Jimmy Garoppolo.
What?
Game manager. Maybe the next Brock Purdy. You're right there, Sam.
Excuse me?
You're right there?
No, I'm not. I have no idea what you just turned this into.
They're hinging on a guy who only had one good season at Louisville and failed to have success at Texas Tech and Oregon.
And has also got an injury history.
Yeah, that's who their season hinges on.
So
all right, Saints will be picking number 1 next year, guys.
Drew Aller, here we come.
Oh, man. Could you imagine Kellen Moore gets his hands on Drew Aller? Brian Hoyer. Dude, I liked Hoyer for like the 1 year that he was good.
When was that?
Hold on. I will tell you right now. Give me 1 second. Because I actually had to desperately pick him up in fantasy football 1 year. Oh my God, Hoyer's still in the league? He's on the Raiders? Dude, I thought he was retired.
No, he's still in the league.
Oh, man, he's still getting money. All right.
Are we referring to the 2015, 2016?
No. We're going to 2014. It's last year in Cleveland. He was he was the full-time starter.
Bro, he threw 12 touchdowns and 13 picks.
Yeah, but he had his career high in passing yards. That's what matters here.
Oh, okay. And guess what? He only played 11 games the next year in Houston and threw for 19 touchdowns and 7 picks. What the hell are you talking about right now? What are you?
Hey, man. That Where do you think he got that 1-year contract from Houston? Because of how he played in
It was
Cleveland.
Houston. He was competing with Tom Savage.
Look,
Wild.
taking all this into consideration between him going from Cleveland to the Texans and then Deshaun Watson getting traded from the Texans to Cleveland, I feel like there was some bad blood there.
You're being called out, buddy. I'm going to let you have this one.
Wait, what? Hold on. When did I ever say that Daniel Jones was a capable NFL quarterback, let alone Josh Allen? Hold on. When did I say this? Anthony, I need some receipts. Because I've never liked Daniel Jones. From the second I saw him smiling across that stage. Quarterback from Duke. Give me a break.
I can back Tyler up on this. Tyler has never been a Daniel Jones guy.
Never.
And so Clint's just giving us some background on the whole Brian Hoyer thing. Started the year 7-2, then had some big games, and then fans turned on him for Manziel. But then he said But then he corrected himself. He was 7-4 before.
Hey man, a 7-4 record. I mean, dude, he had Cleveland fans with hope. Clint can probably back that up. He gave them hope. And then they turned to Baker. Baker tried to give them hope. Then they said, "We don't want to play with you anymore." Kicked them out. And here they are. Four quarterbacks deep on the roster. And Joe Flacco's the best one in 2025.
And Zolt is spot on with this comment.
Yup, there's your first mistake. QB from Duke. I'm trying to think of the thought process of the justification for the Saints to draft the kid from Louisville. Did they think he was Lamar Jackson? Did they think they were drafting the next Lamar? What the hell did they think he was?
You're killing me here. You're actually killing me here.
The better pick might have been what's his name? Kid Seattle took.
Milrow?
Milrow. Yeah. Honestly, Milrow just needed his game cleaned up a little bit in his decision making. Kellen Moore probably could have did that.
God, yeah.
Then I think he has a lot more talent and raw ability than Tyler Show. But hey, who am I?
Now, what's going to happen is that Tyler Show is going to come out and be like one of the offensive rookie of the year favorites, and we're all going to look like idiots.
We will.
And then Clint also said that then he had some bad games and the fans took his confidence away, referring back to Hoyer.
Tyler Show's going to do to me this year what Sam Darnold did to me last year. Prove me wrong.
All right, Tyler, let's get into our last little bit of the NFC South. How do we feel like the standings are going to go this year?
Well, the Buccaneers are winning their division by a light year. Falcons are going to follow up second. I don't know how close they'll be behind Tampa. That's going to come down to, like we were saying, the play of Michael Penix. And if they do need to have Kirk Cousins step in if there's a really bad start to the year. Because the way that team's constructed, they shouldn't have a bad start to the year. They should be competing early.
Uh-huh.
Then my third team, it's got to be the Panthers. They're the only other team that actually has, from the improvements last year, a capable quarterback now. They made some improvements defensively, offensively. They brought in some more weapons to surround Young with. Because, that was another thing. He couldn't really pass the ball to anybody. He didn't really have much to work with. Adam Thielen, that's about it. So I think they'll finish third. I don't see them maybe at like a 7 or 8 win team. I don't know how high I am on them. And the Saints, oh man. The Saints. I'm calling it. I'm 3 wins. 3 wins. They're getting the number 1 pick next year. 3 wins. I think they're gonna have the worst record in the NFL. Even worse than the Browns. Joe Flacco will win you more games than Tyler Show will. Anthony, for the Falcons? No.
Basically everything from last year.
They're basically running it back and giving Penix a chance to actually start more games than the 3 games that he started last year. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So where I'm at with this division, it's a crapshoot after number 1. I have the Bucks winning it. I have them going 11-6.
Yeah, I got the Bucks at 11 wins.
I really like this Bucks team. Then I'll go the Falcons. I'll have them finishing 9-8. I think they're getting there. I'm not sure if they're there yet. I'll have the Panthers going 3rd. I'm going to have them finishing 7-10. And then I have the Saints. I have them going 2-15. They stink. Zolt says hot take division comes down to week 15 when the Bucks and Falcons play each other. That's not outlandish.
It might. You're right, Zolt. That's a pretty hot take.
That's
because I don't know if the Falcons. I think they're going to be a few games behind the Bucks. I don't think they're going to be right there with them neck and neck.
No, Anthony. As of right now, Kirk Cousins is riding the good old pine on the Falcons bench.
Yep.
Well, that was a nice almost an hour and a half of NFC South talk.
Oh yeah. Actually, slightly more exciting than the AFC South.
Not surprising. Well, Tyler, guess what? We're not finished yet. And why is that?
I don't know. Why is that?
Because getting back into our theme of integrating some more sports coverage back into 609 Sports Talk other than just the NFL or football in general. Last night, we had a very big breaking trade in Major League Baseball. And it was the Boston Red Sox trading all-star third baseman Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants for a package that includes pitcher Jordan Hicks, who I guess you could say he's a reliever at this point, young left-hander Kyle Harrison, Jose Bayo, and James Tibbs. So, first off, everyone knows publicly that Rafael Devers and the Boston Red Sox relationship has been teetering off a cliff over the past year plus. It first started with him wanting to get paid, which he ultimately did. And then it ultimately started with him calling out the Red Sox last year because of not fielding a better team. First off, we're gonna look at this through 3 sides. The Giants side, the Red Sox side, and then through the Rafael Devers side. So Anthony, the Wendy's Biggie bag had more value. So,
thank you guys
let
for
me
helping me understand the impact of this trade.
Oh, no, Tyler, the Mavericks got more value in the Luka trade.
Oh, God.
Let me explain to you how this looks for all three of these sides. And we're going to dive deep into this from the Red Sox standpoint in a second. Let me get out of the way first with the San Francisco Giants. First of all, you have a guy now, one of the best left-handed hitting bats in the league for the next 8 years. Because he's already signed his long-term contract that the Red Sox gave him. So you've got him for the next 8 years. The San Francisco Giants are currently only a couple games back of the Dodgers in the West. And this is without Matt Chapman, who's been on the IL for a little bit, and Patrick Bailey, their catcher. So two of their better players have been out, and they are still right up there with the Dodgers. The Giants, of course, we know they have been in on every star player in free agency over the past few years. They tried to get Aaron Judge. They tried to get Shohei Ohtani. They have tried year after year after year to land big fish free agents to compete in the NL West because you are going against the Dodgers. You are going against the Padres, who still have Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado. Now, this past winter, they were able to land a solid free agent. They signed Willy Adames from the Brewers. And although Adames has not performed great this year to start out, he hasn't been god-awful, and he has really helped change a little bit of the culture of players not wanting to come to San Francisco. Well, now you have Rafael Devers into that lineup. When you get Matt Chapman healthy and you get Patrick Bailey back behind the plate, the Giants now could compete. Like, I'm talking like they could compete with the Dodgers now. They have the bats to do it. Now, do they have enough pitching outside of Logan Webb and a couple others? We'll have to wait and see. But this is a big move for the Giants. But that's not the fun part of the trade. Let's go back and talk about this whole situation between Rafael Devers and the Red Sox. This has been something. First off, Tyler, let's say here, you are not the quote unquote biggest baseball person.
Nope.
But now, real quickly, let me see. Anthony said the return for him doesn't make sense. It was it was. Anthony, and I'm going to get to that right now. Let's think of this, right? When you think baseball, right? No matter if you're a casual, someone who watches it a couple times a year, or a diehard fan of a team, when you think baseball, what do you think? Dodgers. Yankees.
Used to be the Red Sox.
Hey, yeah. Well, yeah, it used to be the Red Sox. The Red Sox, for years, have homed some of the best players we have ever thought of. Ed Williams, Roger Clemens, David Ortiz. I don't know what happened over the past 6 years to where the Red Sox no longer acted like they were a big market team. Because this is now getting ridiculous. All right, I know some Red Sox fans are still mad about Chris Sale leaving. Chris Sale was coming off 2 years where he pitched a combined 7 games. Him just getting healthy all of a sudden going to Atlanta, that's what Atlanta does. My issue with this is the explanations we have been given today from GM Craig Breslow, who I think had the driving force in why this trade happened. So let's go back to what's happened here. First off, the other thing the Red Sox said today is, we're trying to rebuild. We're trying to get this. We have a bunch of young players we want to see. Really? So you're in a rebuild. But just about 7 months ago, you traded for Garrett Crochet. You signed Alex Bregman. You signed Aroldis Chapman. That doesn't sound like a rebuilding team to me. But that's where a lot of this started. So, of course, we know Devers and the Red Sox, there were some statements made a couple years ago about him getting paid. Ultimately, he got his contract. The Red Sox gave him over $300 million. Then there was the thing last spring training where he was questioning, did the front office really want to attempt to win again? This, of course, came after the Red Sox won a year in 2019. They were just a year removed from a World Series. They traded Mookie Betts to the damn Dodgers, and the best player they got in that trade was prospect Jeter Downs, who, by the way, now isn't even in the organization anymore. The biggest thing they got out of any of these deals is Connor Wong, and he's a below-average catcher. So we go back, and now when this really started was when the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman to play third base. Well, the problem is Rafael Devers plays third base as well. The problem also is Rafael Devers is not a better third baseman defensively than Alex Bregman. And now, don't get me wrong, this started with the Red Sox approached him about playing first base. He said, no, I play third base, and that's it. So he didn't help himself. Like I said, there's two sides to this. There is one side for the Red Sox, and of course the other one is Rafael Devers. But in my opinion, for a team like the Red Sox, who, by the way, I just brought up Mookie Betts. Since trading Mookie Betts, according to The Athletic, the Red Sox are 390 and 391 since trading Mookie Betts after 2019.
Yikes.
Oh, and he's won 2 World Series for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody cared about that. But there was something after that whole situation with third base when they signed Bregman that never settled with Rafael Devers. He refused to play first base after their starting first baseman was out for the season. He refused to play first base. So the Red Sox went and made him their DH. And he has been having a really solid year. He's hitting over 270. He's got 15 homers. And the Red Sox, over the past week, have actually had a good week. They're back over 500. They just won 5 out of 6 games from the Yankees.
Oh,
They
wow.
took 2 out of. They just swept the Yankees this weekend, and then last weekend they went to the Bronx and took 2 out of 3. They're back over 500, and their season is looking better. And now they decide to do this. Like Anthony said, this has the makings of a salary dump. I think this was somebody in the Red Sox organization, whether it's the owner or whether it's Craig Breslow, the GM, someone's feelings got hurt when it comes to Rafael Devers. Apparently, there were some reports, there were some social things he wasn't involving himself with, some meet and greets, all this stuff. According to some people close to him, he just wants to be a baseball player. Which I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Some guys don't like to do the appearance stuff.
But I mean,
some guys just aren't into that stuff.
You got to think about it, right? You are a professional athlete. I don't care what sport you're in. These social gatherings and events and stuff, those are for the fans. The same fans that support your product to sign your paycheck. And you tell them, I don't care if you don't like it or not. Marshawn Lynch hated press conferences. He still did them. He still did some things for the fans. He always respected the fans. You're a professional athlete. You can love the sport all you want, but there's more that comes into it.
Yes, but we're also talking about the same fans that are being lied to and bamboozled by Red Sox ownership again. This is the second big franchise player that they have traded away in 5 years for nothing. Because I will tell you now, Jordan Hicks stinks. Kyle Harrison has not shown anything in the majors yet. And those 2 minor leaguers, I could care less. They are trading away their franchise players for sacks of potatoes, basically.
Yeah.
And the point here is, and now also, Alex Bregman has been hurt for a few weeks now. He hurt his quad. He has been on the IL, and they didn't even approach Devers to play third base because they knew how that conversation would go. Because he probably would have said, well, yeah, sure, I'll play it, but I'm not giving it back. Now, oh, God, what's this? Anthony said, but wait, it's more Red Sox get a closer and Hicks that can throw 100-mile-an-hour ball, but got accuracy like Stevie Wonder. Oh, trust me. Anthony, I will say this. Jordan Hicks as a reliever is actually a lot better. The problem is when he went to San Francisco, they were like, oh, you've been a reliever your whole life. We're going to make you a starting pitcher. And that has not worked out whatsoever.
Anthony, I didn't see that comment, just like, no pun intended.
Yeah, I know. I think that's the one thing is that people forget when Jordan Hicks was in Toronto and St. Louis, he was a reliever, but since he went to San Fran, they made him a starter, which was the stupidest thing they could have done. But the whole situation with Devers and the Red Sox, it was ego versus ego, and at the end of the day, this is what the best thing for both sides were. I don't think Devers was right. I don't think the Red Sox were right, because the Red Sox really didn't, Devers, they kind of just said, all right, here's Alex Bregman. Rafael, you're not playing third base anymore. For a guy who's been the most tenured guy on your team and who's been with you through all the rebuild that you've been through, since you basically got rid of freaking Mookie Betts, and you kind of just replaced him without replacing him, and without telling him. And Clint said, no way did they approach Devers to play third. He told them something like, yes, yeah, exactly. And he's been their DH all year, Clint, and that's just it. At the end of the day, things between them were already murky going into this season, but then after signing Chapman to basically replace him at third base, it's been awkward ever since. And like I said, I have no issue with the team but again, this is a salary dump. Someone up in the Red Sox front office got their feelings hurt, and they want to make their mark. Because they did not do their reconnaissance on this trade. This is a terrible trade for the Red Sox. And please miss me with we want to see the young kids play. Oh, my God, you couldn't be lying more. Because, again, you went out and you signed a Walker Buehler in the offseason. You signed Alex Bregman. You signed Aroldis Chapman. You traded for Garrett Crochet, which, okay, some of that has worked. Chapman's been really good. He's going to get traded, too, eventually, because the Red Sox are going to, trust me, no one likes one-year deal relievers more than contending teams, and Chapman's got an ERA under 2, so they're going to get something for him. They're also looking to trade Jarren Duran, another one of their outfielders, so they are definitely looking into moving some more players other than just Devers, but at the end of the day, Devers gets a fresh start in San Fran, which he's still not going to play third base because Matt Chapman, who is like a 3-time Gold Glove winner and like a 2-time Platinum Glove winner. Yes, there's a Platinum Glove now.
Wow. How old
is that? For anybody that didn't know that. Yeah. So. Oh, God. Anthony. What did Anthony say? Pretty much, Anthony. But no, so at the end of the day, Devers gets a fresh start in San Fran. Like I said, he's still going to be the DH because, again, Chapman's not moving off third. And the Red Sox get to rebuild for another 8 years. And now, 5 years down the road, when Christian Campbell annoys the front office, they'll trade him. Because he's another one of their young players who I really like. But the Red Sox still a solid group. They have a bunch of young players coming up through the system. They have Campbell there now. They've got like Garrett Crochet, still one of the best pitchers in baseball. They've got guys. Brian Bayo's another one of their starters that are really good. They're still waiting for both Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck to come back from injuries. And if they get them back, the Red Sox have one of the best starting rotations in baseball last year. They get those guys healthy, and then they still have Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito, who both guys have ERAs in the 5s, but the Red Sox is once again if you're going to become a cornerstone of their organization, you're probably going to get traded. Just how it is. The whole situation was ugly from the start of spring training. The Bregman signing made it worse, and now he's a Giant. Red Sox just seemed to wanted to have a fresh start, and both sides get that now. Devers gets to go to San Fran and probably smash a bunch of balls into McCovey Cove. And the Red Sox get to start letting more of their young players come up and play every day. So And Clint said Red Sox got Roman Anthony, who was getting a standing ovation during his debut. Yeah, he's another one of the young kids they really like. And this won't be the last Red Sox trade that you'll see between now and the trade deadline, because just to think of some guys that I could see getting traded, like I said, let me just run through some names here really quickly. I think Walker Buehler is a very good chance he could be traded. He's only on a 1-year deal. Teams love starting pitching depth. I already brought up Aroldis Chapman. I think that's a very big chance that he gets traded. Let me think. Going through their team here. Yeah, that's honestly, they may not have much else outside of that. Raymond's not going to get traded unless we're stupid enough. And yeah, the only other guy I could see getting moved currently right now would be Jared Durant, who is 28 years old. He's actually been pretty solid. In 72 games this year, he's got 5 homers, 38 ribbies, and he's hitting 260. Last year, he hit 285 with 21 homers and 75 RBIs. So he's probably the other big name that will probably get moved out of Boston this year. They're going to let the kids play, guys like Clint said, Roman Anthony. They have Abraham Toro playing first base. He's having a really good season so far for the Red Sox. They've got Christian Campbell, who I think is going to be a really good player. So this was what was best for both Devers and the Red Sox, and now we just wait and see how it all unfolds. And Clint said real quick, Savali, who was pitching for the Brewers, requested a trade from the Brewers and got traded to the White Sox. Clint, I did see that. It was like 24 hours later. He's like, oh, I want to be traded. They're like, okay, here's the worst team in baseball, buddy. And Clint, I heard they're trying to trade him before the deadline. Anthony said, then we got teams like the Orioles went from a top 10 team to a bottom 5. Anthony, that's because the Orioles refused to address their pitching staff at all during the offseason. The only major addition they made in the offseason was Charlie Morton. And that's about 3 years too late. Oh, Clinton, it's hilarious. The guy asked for a trade, and they're like, okay, here's the worst team in the league. But that's really all my thoughts I have on the Rafael Devers situation with the Red Sox. And now I'm glad I don't have to hear about it anymore.
Sounds like interesting times in Boston.
Oh, it is. And just think, it's only June. The trade deadline isn't for another month and a half. But anyway, Kyler, do we have anything else you want to talk about?
Well, that's all I got for tonight.
Well, shall we take one last second to thank everybody for not only joining us tonight, but that has joined us through these first 50 episodes since we've been back here.
Of the return of 609 Sports Talk.
Yep. Of course, most people know we did have 609 around for a while, went away for a little bit, came back, brought it back as a weekly show, and it's been damn fun ever since.
And it's fun
every week with you
all
guys.
You guys that come in here and join us every Monday night.
Yep. We can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys for all the comments, all the love you show us week in and week out. And Tyler said, we don't have these shows without you guys. Anybody could sit here and talk for an hour and a half to 2 hours a night, but without a fan base like you guys, we wouldn't really have it. Anthony, yes, that NBA trade, yes, we're going to bring that up next week because we have a lot of basketball stuff planned for next week. We did not forget about that trade. Carol said, thank you guys always for a great show. Congrats. Thank you, Carol. Carol, you've been here with us for a long time, for a while now. We appreciate you a lot. And I want to just, I put on the screen, but I wanted to put Clint's comment that he said the Guardians are in the same boat. They won't make the postseason this year. Yikes. But all right, guys, we're going to get up on out of here for the night. We want to thank everybody for helping us make our 50th episode so fun and so special. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, and now on, we got more sports talking about again. Of course, I brought some baseball stuff up tonight. We have some basketball stuff to talk next week, and we'll still have another NFL division to talk about. We are moving into the North divisions now, and we'll be wrapping up our NFL division stuff over the next couple of weeks. But we want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. We hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. Clint, once again, real quick, saying great show. I might need help on for the basketball. Oh, Clint, you are always welcome.
Oh yeah.
We got some stuff. We got some NBA draft stuff I want to talk about next week. So, thank you everybody for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for making these first 50 episodes so great, and we will see you guys for episode 51, same time, same place next week. Have a good rest of your week, everybody. For Tyler Adams, I'm Sam Nelson. Good night, everybody.